Today on Psycast, we're going to explore how to build a mind so powerful it intimidates the world around you. This episode is presented in podcast format with subtitles available to help you follow along calmly. Have you ever felt like the world around you was quietly shaping you? Like there was an invisible pressure to soften your edges, lower your voice, dim your intensity just enough to fit in? Maybe you didn't notice it at first. Maybe it was just small choices, shrinking in meetings, agreeing with things you didn't believe, pretending to care about things that didn't move you. Little by little, the edges of who you are start to blur. And one day, you look in the mirror and realize the person staring back isn't fully you. It's a quieter, safer, more palatable version of you. A version shaped by the fear of being too much. If you've ever felt this, I want you to know. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are experiencing something almost universal. From the earliest moments of our lives, we're wired to seek acceptance. Survival once depended on it. Our nervous systems still believe they do. Being excluded, judged, or misunderstood feels like a threat not just to our pride, but to our very existence. No wonder so many of us dull our minds, hide our strength, and water down our convictions. It's not cowardice, it's biology. But here's the thing, biology isn't destiny. It explains where the fear comes from, but it doesn't have to dictate where we go from here. What lives beneath this fear of being too much is something ancient and important, the longing to belong. And while that longing is natural, Viktor Frankl once said something that changed the way I see this struggle. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Most people hear this and think it means becoming more adaptable, more flexible. But I believe Frankl was pointing to something deeper. The realization that our power doesn't come from bending to fit our surroundings. It comes from standing so firmly inside ourselves that the surroundings begin to shift. Imagine for a moment the kind of mind that could do that. A mind rooted not in pride, but in principle. A mind trained to withstand misunderstanding without collapsing. A mind resilient enough to carry its own solitude and brave enough to keep moving even when applause is absent. That kind of mind isn't born. It's built over time through 1,000 quiet choices. Maybe you've met someone like that, someone who walks into a room and doesn't have to speak loudly to be noticed. Their presence alone changes the temperature, not because they demand attention, but because their inner world is so ordered, so whole, that others feel it instinctively. That's the power we're talking about today. Not the power of dominance, but the power of self-possession. The kind of strength that doesn't scream, but resonates. And building that kind of mind starts with a shift so small you might miss it if you're not paying attention. The decision to stop outsourcing your worth, to stop handing your power to the room, to stop asking the world for permission to exist fully. Because here's the truth no one tells you. When you stop asking for permission, people will notice. Some will be drawn to it. Some will be intimidated by it. Some will even resent it. That's not your concern. Your concern is only this. Are you standing where your soul knows you should stand? Maybe no one told you this before, but strength doesn't always look like winning. Sometimes it looks like enduring. Sometimes it looks like being misunderstood, criticized, even left behind, and choosing to stay true to yourself anyway. Sometimes strength is the invisible work of refusing to betray yourself for a seat at the table. And when you start living this way, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing the judgment of others, not because you think you're invincible, but because you know that judgment isn't yours to carry. It belongs to them. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to shrink to make others more comfortable. You can simply keep going, forward, deeper into yourself, stronger, not harder, clearer, not louder, less about proving and more about being. There's a kind of silence that grows inside you when you stop living for external validation. It's not the silence of defeat or loneliness. It's the silence of anchored strength. It's the silence of someone who no longer needs to win every argument, who no longer burns energy trying to be understood by everyone. It's the silence of someone who understands that being deeply misunderstood by many is a small price to pay for being deeply at peace with oneself. And from that silence, a new kind of mind is born, not easily shaken, not easily led astray, not easily broken. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But he also warned that the journey toward authenticity is a lonely one, and not everyone will applaud you for taking it. Most people are more comfortable with the version of you that plays small, that agrees easily, that doesn't challenge the status quo. When you start to build a mind that intimidates others, it's not because you are cruel or arrogant. It's because your very presence forces people to confront parts of themselves they are not ready to face. Your strength highlights their avoidance. Your clarity highlights their confusion. Your peace highlights their unrest. It's tempting to water yourself down to avoid this discomfort, to go back to fitting in, to dim the brightness just enough to be more acceptable. But every time you do, you pay a price. And the price is always the same: a small erosion of your spirit, a quiet betrayal of your own knowing, a slow forgetting of your real name. And the longer you do it, the harder it becomes to find your way back. That's why true strength isn't built in grand public moments. It's built in small, private ones. In the decision to stay true when no one is watching. In the discipline of saying no when it would be easier to say yes. In the quiet courage of choosing solitude over cheap company. Every time you honor the truth inside you, even when it costs you approval, you are fortifying the foundations of a mind that can carry you through anything. Picture a tree growing in a vast, open field. It stands alone, battered by winds, scorched by summers, frozen by winters. But because it stands alone, it learns to dig its roots deeper. It learns to bend without breaking. It learns to draw strength from sources deeper than the surface. That is the kind of mind you are building. A mind that does not depend on the weather of other people's opinions. A mind that draws from something far more enduring. And here's something else no one talks about. When you build this kind of mind, you become a mirror for others. Some will resent what they see. Some will try to break the mirror because it shows them parts of themselves they'd rather not face. But a few, just a few, will be inspired. They will see you standing strong and realize they too can stand. They too can reclaim the pieces of themselves they had long abandoned. That is how real change happens, not by shouting louder than the world, but by becoming something so unmistakably real that others cannot help but feel it. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to win every battle. You only need to embody the truth so completely that your very life becomes its own quiet revolution. The road there is not easy. There will be days you want to fold, days you will doubt yourself, days you will ache for the ease of conformity. But I promise you, nothing tastes sweeter than the peace that comes from living aligned with your own soul. No applause, no approval, no fleeting validation can ever match it. Building a mind so powerful that it intimidates others isn't about dominance. It's about freedom. Freedom from needing the world to echo back your worth. Freedom from the exhausting game of constant negotiation for acceptance. Freedom to walk into any room, any situation, and know, I belong to myself. But freedom has its own weight to carry. It demands that you become responsible for your own sense of belonging. It asks that you no longer seek safety in numbers, but in the quiet certainty of your own heart. It requires that you become the guardian of your own mind, protecting it from the noise, the comparisons, the illusions that the world will try to sell you. And this is where most people falter, not because they are weak, but because they have been taught that belonging should come from the outside, that peace should be granted, not claimed, that worth should be earned, not remembered. Let me tell you something I once heard, something that stayed with me longer than I expected. Your peace will cost you your popularity. Your growth will cost you your comfort. Your authenticity will cost you your approval. But if you are willing to pay the price, you will find something far greater. At first, I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to believe there was a way to be strong and beloved by all, to be authentic and universally accepted. But life taught me otherwise. Strength and popularity rarely walk hand in hand. True authenticity often disrupts, challenges, and even offends. Because realness, by its nature, calls out the falsehoods that so many cling to for survival. So if you are walking this path, this difficult, beautiful path of building a mind that stands unshakable, you must be prepared to lose a few things. You might lose shallow friendships that were built on your compliance, not your truth. You might lose opportunities that required you to play small. You might lose the comfort of always being liked, always being understood, always being safe, but you will gain something infinitely more valuable: the ability to live at peace with yourself, to look in the mirror and meet your own gaze without flinching, to know that whatever else may happen, you did not betray the deepest parts of yourself. And that kind of peace, it radiates. You might not notice it at first. Others might not have the words for it, but they will feel it. They will feel the solidity in you, the clarity. Some will be drawn to it. Some will be unsettled by it. Some will even try to test it to see if it's real. Let them. You have nothing to prove. The real work was never about changing how others see you. It was always about changing how you see yourself. I think of the Stoics here, people like Epictetus and Seneca, who taught that the only true power we have is over our own minds. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery doesn't mean control in the harsh, rigid sense. It means relationship. It means knowing your own patterns, your own fears, your own soft spots, and choosing to respond to life from your center, not from your wounds. It means learning to distinguish between what is yours to carry and what belongs to others, between what deserves your attention and what deserves your letting go. And so, the real task, if you want to build a mind that commands respect without needing it, is not to become invulnerable. It is to become intimate with your own vulnerability, to know it, to hold it, to walk with it, not as a weakness to be hidden, but as a depth to be honored. Strength without compassion is brittle. Power without tenderness is hollow. The kind of mind we are building here is not a fortress to keep the world out. It's a home strong enough to invite the world in and still remain standing. This is why you don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to dominate to be powerful. True strength whispers. It speaks in the way you carry yourself, in the way you hold your silence, in the way you refuse to betray yourself when it would be easier to comply. It is a strength that shines through your eyes, through your choices, through the stillness in your presence. It does not ask for permission. It does not beg for understanding. It simply is. If you've come this far, you already know. This path is not glamorous. It doesn't come with fanfare. No one will hand you a trophy for the battles you fought inside yourself. No one will fully understand the wars you chose not to fight, the words you chose not to say, the countless times you chose to stay true rather than stay popular. And yet, the rewards of this path are profound, even if they are invisible to the outside world. One day, you will wake up and realize that you no longer live at the mercy of the tides around you. You will no longer be tossed back and forth by the opinions of others. You will no longer be desperate for approval that costs you your soul. You will simply live, and you will live free. That's the real prize: freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from rebellion for rebellion's sake, but the quiet, enduring freedom of knowing who you are and being unwilling to barter that away for anything. The freedom of not needing everyone to like you because you have learned to like yourself. The freedom of not needing to be understood because you have made peace with the parts of yourself that the world may never fully see. The freedom of standing in a storm and knowing you will not be moved. And make no mistake, there will be storms. Life will test the strength of your mind again and again. You will encounter criticism that feels unjust, silence that feels cold, loneliness that feels unbearable. You will watch others rise faster, louder, flashier. And you will wonder if maybe you made a mistake by choosing this quieter, harder path. But when you feel those doubts creep in, remember this: what you are building cannot be taken away. Fame can fade. Applause can disappear. Popularity is a fragile thing, always dependent on the whims of others. But the strength you are cultivating, it is yours, fully, completely, forever. There's a scene that often plays in my mind when I think of this journey. a lone lighthouse standing against the crashing waves. It doesn't move, it doesn't shout, it simply stands, illuminated from within, serving anyone willing to look for it. That's the kind of mind we're after. Not a mind desperate to change every tide, but a mind so steady, so sure, that it can serve as a quiet guide for those who have lost their way. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to exhaust yourself trying to convince people who have already decided not to see you. Instead, you can serve your energy for the battles that truly matter, the ones inside yourself. You protect your mind from the temptation to shrink. You protect your heart from the urge to harden. You protect your spirit from the cynicism that tells you it's safer not to care. And in doing so, you become something very rare in this world, someone who is both strong and soft, both fierce and kind, both rooted and open. This is what it means to build a mind so powerful that it unsettles others, not because it seeks to overpower them, but because it refuses to be overpowered by them. A mind that shines quietly, stubbornly, inevitably. A mind that, simply by existing, invites others to remember their own strength too. You don't have to be perfect to walk this path. You don't have to have it all figured out. You only have to be willing to let go of who you were taught to be in order to become who you were always meant to be. Willing to sit with the discomfort of not being immediately understood. Willing to trade the ease of fitting in for the deeper peace of belonging to yourself. Because in the end, it's not about intimidating others. It's about no longer being intimidated by yourself. Maybe the world doesn't need another person who knows how to play the game. Maybe what the world needs, what you need, is someone who remembers how to stand. Someone who chooses authenticity over approval. Someone who refuses to betray themselves, even when no one is watching. Someone whose very life becomes a quiet act of defiance against everything false, shallow, and small. You may never receive the recognition you deserve for walking this path. Some people will misunderstand your strength as arrogance. Others will project their fears onto you, labeling your boundaries as coldness, your confidence as conceit. But what matters is not their perception. What matters is the quiet, knowing inside you. The part of you that recognizes when you are living in alignment, when your actions match your soul, when your inner and outer worlds no longer war against each other. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop needing the world to mirror back your worth. It's a peace that moves differently. It's not loud. It doesn't chase. It doesn't plead. It doesn't cling. It simply exists, steady and unshakable, like a mountain rooted deep beneath the earth. It's a peace that carries you through rejection, through misunderstanding, through all the noise that used to shake you so easily. And once you taste it, once you feel it settle into your bones, you will never want to live any other way. The question then is simple. Even if the answer is not, are you willing to build a mind like that? Are you willing to lose what isn't real in order to find what is? Are you willing to endure the loneliness of growth for the deeper companionship of your own soul? Are you willing to live a life that, simply by existing, challenges everything false in this world? If you are, know this: you are not alone. Every person who has ever chosen the harder, truer path has walked through the same fires you will walk through, and every one of them would tell you the same thing if they could. It's worth it. The peace is real. The strength is real. The freedom is real. But you must be willing to walk through the discomfort, the doubt, the fear, and keep walking anyway. You are capable of building a mind that doesn't flinch, a heart that doesn't harden, a spirit that doesn't surrender. You are capable of becoming someone who no longer needs to be feared or admired, but simply respected for the quiet, unstoppable force that you are. Let the world feel what it will. Let them misunderstand if they must. You are not here to fit their expectations. You are here to embody the truth that lives inside you. And in doing so, you will become a lighthouse for others, a living invitation to remember what is real, what is lasting, what cannot be shaken by the passing storms. The work is hard, the journey is long, but the destination is worth every step, not because you will conquer the world, but because you will conquer the only thing that ever truly mattered, yourself. And in the end, that is the greatest power of all.